How far are you willing to fly on an Airbus A330neo with 459 seats, the most dense configuration of the wide-body jet in the world? That's a thought in my head as I start this flight report. The airline owning those 459-seat Airbus A330neos is that of the Philippine-based budget airline Cebu Pacific, which, while I have done a flight report in the past, I haven't featured the airline recently, nor a flight on their wide-body aircraft. The Philippine-based budget airline uses these aircraft on regional hops, though one of its main missions is for the long-haul operations. Specifically, the airline operates these aircraft on flights to Dubai, along with 2 Australian cities, Melbourne and Sydney. But if you do look carefully on booking flights with Cebu Pacific domestically, you actually will be able to fly on them on certain trunk routes to cities such as Cebu and Davao from Manila, to which I selected a flight from Manila to Cebu. So for this edition of Travels with Flights in Asia, we'll take the short domestic hop from Manila to Cebu with Cebu Pacic's Airbus A330neo, and I'll be sharing my thoughts on the overall domestic flying experience with Cebu Pacific in the year 2025. Magandang hapon, good afternoon from the city of Manila as we make our way to Manila Airport Terminal 3, the biggest and busiest of the 3 passenger terminals at the airport. Unlike the other 2 terminals, Terminal 3 serves both domestic and international flights, and one of the biggest airline tenants there is Philippine-based budget airline Cebu Pacific, the airline that will be taking us on our short domestic hop from Manila to the Mactan-Cebu International Airport. Our flight today, Cebu Pacific Flight 5J573, will be departing just after sunset and will be using the wide-body A330-900neo. Along with the use of the wide-body A330neos, the Manila-Cebu route is the busiest in the Philippines, with the local Philippine-based airlines offering a total of around 250 weekly flights between the 2 cities. While Manila is the political and business capital of the Philippines, Cebu is the biggest city in the central Philippines and has the second busiest air hub in the country, the Mactan-Cebu International Airport, an airport that I have featured on several flight reports already. Within the 250 weekly flights operated between Manila and Cebu, there are a few that Cebu Pacific and Philippine Airlines will deploy wide-body jets such as the Airbus A330s and A330neos on them, and Flight 5J573 is one of them. So back to Terminal 3, which I will summarize in one word: crowded. It's the biggest of the 3 passenger terminals at Manila Airport, but also the busiest, operating well above its design capacity. For our flight today, we just happen to be going into a peak travel time during the afternoon hours. The feeling of walking into Terminal 3 during this time, as I would put it, is like going into a busy shopping mall within Manila. There's just not much escape from any noise or crowds. And this goes well into the pre-departure area, which I'll get to later on. Amid the chaos and crowds, you'll find the Cebu Pacific check-in counters, which does offer a bag drop following the use of their self-service check-in kiosks, something they have been implementing within the last few years. I did have some difficulty scanning the barcode on my phone, though maybe it was just that time, or it's easier to scan from a paper copy of the ticket. I ended up typing my reference number, which worked well, and I got my boarding pass along with my bag tag before proceeding to the counters to drop off my luggage, and all done within 10 to 15 minutes. After check-in, there is more dining options upstairs, though to not waste time, we then proceeded to the pre-departure area, which, again, there is no escape from the crowds. It's just very difficult to find seating throughout the domestic side of the terminal. There is a Pogs lounge, and for those who do have access, I do encourage you to take advantage of it. Sure, you do have some food vendors, but I think given the volume of traffic that Cebu Pacific serves each day, there may be room for another paid-use lounge at the airside. Meanwhile, in the waiting area, the windows aren't perfect for plane spotting, but you do have some great views of the aircraft movements at the terminal, runways 13 and 31, Terminal 2, and also the Neong Filipino complex, which is reportedly going to be demolished, and the area will be the site of the construction of a new Terminal 5. Personally, I would like to see the completion of the new Manila Airport project in Bulacan. However, while we're waiting, the Terminal 5 project sounds much more appealing than being in Terminal 3. As the sun was setting, our Airbus A330neo, originally delivered to Cebu Pacific in December of 2023, made its way to the gate after arriving from an international flight from Tokyo. Since the inbound aircraft arrived slightly late, our departure time was delayed a bit, but that didn't stop some people to stand in front of the gate just waiting for the boarding announcement. And this is where I really want to make a PSA. Standing in front of the gate when the boarding call has not been made, especially for your section, doesn't really help anyone. I get that there is some sort of competition on a fully loaded plane to get a big hand carry bag into the overhead, and there isn't much seating around the area. Though waiting in the area in front of the gate only creates more crowding, especially it created obstructions on the path to the other gates and restrooms for other passengers on other flights. Again, it doesn't help make the boarding process easier and more efficient for everyone. Combined with the long lines and crowd, it took 20 minutes from getting my boarding pass scanned until I reached the aircraft, and I was just relieved to get to my seat and settle in for our flight. Onboard Cebu Pacific's Airbus A330neos are 459 all-economy class seats. Most of the seats are configured in 333, though towards the back of the aircraft, it's actually 232. Seat selection is an add-on when booking with Cebu Pacific, and these seats, along with the exit rows, the forward cabins, and the bulkhead, do have a higher cost, but it might be worth it, especially on those longer flights to Dubai or Australia. Below and in between the seats in front of you is a standard USB charging port. In the seat pocket, you'll find the in-flight menu for the food, snacks, and beverages, and the rare in-flight magazine. It's kinda odd that a budget airline like Cebu Pacific would still have an in-flight magazine when other major airlines are doing away with them. But then again, some of these big full-service airlines do have great in-flight entertainment systems, or even Wi-Fi available. If your flight is during the daytime and within the Philippines, there are some great views outside the windows, so there's that. Already delayed, we'll make our way to the runway for our takeoff, featuring the night lights of the Manila skyline. Flight attendants would make their way around the cabin, offering the sales of foods, drinks, and snacks. And later on, they would be selling their souvenir-branded Cebu Pacific items. The actual flight time was just over 1 hour, so there really isn't that much to do up in the air. To think, I wouldn't mind flying this aircraft on a short regional hop to say Tokyo, Bangkok, Hong Kong, or Singapore. I'd probably look for the full-service alternatives on a flight to Dubai or Sydney. If you do happen to be on those much longer flights and need to use the restroom, there is a restroom in the mid-cabin area that is with a yellow wall. It caught my attention as someone was exiting it, and after the flight, I just went and took some video of it. It wouldn't be long until we would start to make our approach and landing at the Manila-Cebu International Airport. As we get closer to landing, I do want to mention some things about the Manila-Cebu Airport. All domestic flights will arrive at Terminal 1, the original passenger terminal building of the airport. If you are making a connection to an international flight from Cebu, there is a well-lit walkway between the terminals for a 5 to 10 minute walk depending on your walking pace. Cebu Pacific is an airline that is polarizing even among Filipinos. For some, Cebu Pacific is the first choice of flying within the Philippines and internationally because of the regular advertised promotions. Those who avoid it may actually prefer a full-service airline like Philippine Airlines or had prior bad experiences with the budget airline. Regardless, the data speaks for itself, as Cebu Pacific is the biggest airline in the Philippines in terms of passenger traffic, and the airline does offer more point-to-point routes within the country, along with international flights from airports beyond Manila and Cebu. Say all you want about Cebu Pacific, but it appears the management of the budget airline is doing something right. While it's far from a perfect airline and operates as a budget airline, Cebu Pacific's impact on the Philippine aviation industry cannot be denied, and they demonstrate a great knowledge of the local market and their target customers. What are your thoughts on Cebu Pacific in the year 2025? And how far are you willing to fly on their Airbus A330neos? I definitely would love to hear your thoughts, though in the meantime, this has been another edition of Travels with Flights in Asia. If you like this video, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. In the meantime, thank you for watching and have a great day.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have just landed. For your safety and comfort, please remain seated with your seatbelts fastened until the captain turns off the fasten seatbelt sign. Please check your surroundings to ensure you do not leave your personal belongings behind. Be cautious when opening the overhead bins, as heavy items may have moved during the flight. If you require assistance, please remain in your seat until all other passengers have deplaned.